Okay, so today what we're going to do is we're going to continue reviewing factoring. However, this time we are going to have a number that's going to be in front of our x squared. Okay, so this one is a little bit more complicated. You're not going to be able to do them in your head. You're going to have to show factor by grouping. All right, so here we go. We're going to factor with a leading coefficient that's not 1 today. So here, we still have the same form as yesterday. The only difference is there's going to be a number in front of x squared. So in our previous lesson, we didn't have a number in front of x squared. All we had to do was look at the C and find two numbers that multiplied or the product of that number, and then the same two numbers that added to give the B. So when we do it like this, our answers are still going to be binomials, and this time we need to take into consideration this first term. So the way that we're going to go about solving these or factoring these is we are going to multiply the first and the last term. So over here they multiplied 6 and 10 and they got 60. Just like yesterday, once I found the product, I now need to find the two numbers that will give me that product that will also give me the sum for my center term, my B term. So in this case, if you weren't sure that it was 4 and 15, you could start by making out your list of the factors of 60. 1 times 60, 2 times 30, 3 times 20, and then finally when you get to 4 times 15, you can see that's the one that you need. And then from there, we are going to now create a 4-term polynomial with those terms. So on the next slide, what we're going to do is we're going to break it up into different pieces. So the two factors, the 4 and the 15, when we add them, we get the 19. So now in my original problem here, I'm breaking the 19 up into the 4x and the 15x. And now I have a 4-term polynomial that I can factor by grouping. Then now you will separate them into two groups, and you will be looking for the greatest common factor of this first group and the greatest common factor of my second group, and then turn it into two different problems. And now what we're going to do is the greatest common factor for this first group is actually 2x, and the greatest common factor for this group is 5. And that's what they've written here. And then for this one, they wrote it over here. What ends up in the parentheses is the division by dividing by the GCF. So 6x squared divided by 2x gave you the 3x, and then 4x divided by 2x gives you 2. When you do this factor by grouping, the two numbers or the two binomials that you get after you divide must match. They must look the same. If they do not look the same, then you've done something incorrectly. Okay, then the next step would be to notice how they look the same. And now what we'll do is we would write what got repeated one time, and then take the two numbers outside of the parentheses, the two factors, and put them in a binomial together. What I recommend you do is after you get your two factors, FOIL it. If it doesn't go back after you FOIL it to this, you've done something wrong. So 3x times 2x is 6x squared. 3x times 5 is 15x. 2 times 2 is 4. And 2 times 5 is 10. Group your middle terms And it does indeed go back to my original problem. So my answer here is 3x plus 2 times 2x plus 5. Now we're going to do one without step by step. So here we go. Step number 1, multiply the first and the last term. I get 24. I am looking for two numbers, actually 24x squared. I'm looking for two numbers that will multiply to give me 24x squared, but who will add to give me 11. Anybody have any ideas for the two ways to multiply to get 24? 3 and 8. Okay, and it's 3x and 8x. Because 3 plus 8 is 11, and 3 times 8 is 24. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite my trinomial here, and I'm going to replace the 11x with these two factors. So I rewrite the 6x squared. I'm now replacing the 11x with the 3x and the 8x, and then rewriting the 4. It doesn't matter if you put the 8 first or the 3 first. You will still get the same answer. Now that we've turned it into a 4-term polynomial, we will group them. I'm looking for the greatest common factor out of my first group, which will be 3x. You write it outside, divide it, and now look for a greatest common factor of the second group, which will be 4. Notice that these two look the same. So in your answer, you write it once, and then take the two numbers outside of the parentheses and put it in a binomial.
You don't have to put the plus 1 there, right? You could just leave the 2x.
You have to put the plus 1. Because if you don't FOIL it, if you just have 2x, then all you're going to be distributing is the 2x. Because you have to show that 3x divided by 3x is 1. If you don't put it, it won't FOIL back. So now at this point, this is your answer. However, I recommend you FOIL it. So make sure it does go back. Now, you may want to wait till after you finish the whole quiz before you FOIL it. But if you're really quick at FOILing, it doesn't take that long. You could take the 5 seconds it's going to take to FOIL it. And it did go back, so we did do it correctly.
Did you get the 3x plus 4?
The 3x plus 4? Yeah. In this row right here?
Yeah.
I did first, outer, inner, last. So I took my two binomials here.
Why did you get that one from the before?
Because I did 1 times 4.
Okay.
The two last numbers, I multiplied this one with this one out of my word FOIL. So the two last numbers in the binomials get multiplied to get the 4. All right, let me show you another example. Okay, again, we're going to multiply the first and the last term. I get 18x squared. I need two numbers that will multiply to give me 18, and two numbers, same two numbers, to get me 11.
9 and 2.
Good. And they get x's, because I'm trying to make it 18x squared and 11x. So now, rewrite the 6x. Again, remember, you're replacing only the middle with the two numbers you came up with. So I'm going to put the 2x and the 9x. It doesn't matter if you put the 9 first. You will still get the same answer. So now I group. Group here, and then a group here. Divide this by the GCF. 3x. I gotta put the GCF out here. So 3x plus 1. Over here, the GCF is 3. And I get 3x plus 1 again. You take the two things that's the same, and then take the two numbers outside. And again, you should FOIL it and make sure it goes back to your original. So that's your check. So 6x squared, outer gives me 9x, inside gives me 2x, last gives me 3. You should always be able to group the middle ones, and it does indeed go back. Yes?
Does it matter if it's like 2x plus 3 first or 3x plus 1?
No. So just like last night's homework, if you wrote your answer as 2x plus 3 first, and then the 3x plus 1, either one of these, it doesn't matter the order of the binomial. Make sense? Let's try another example. Again, we're going to multiply the beginning and the end. Negative 24x squared. I'm looking for factors of negative 24 that are going to give me negative 2. Yes?
4 and negative 6.
Okay, 4 and negative 6. Everybody see that? All right, so now rewrite the 3x. Instead of negative 2, I'm going to put I could either put the 4. Let me do the 4 first, just to show you what happens here. All right, now notice, make room here. Now, I'm going to make my groups here. Oh, this one didn't matter. Never mind, doesn't matter. Okay, so what is my greatest common factor of my first group? 1x, right? So I'm going to divide it, and I get 3x plus 4. And then over here, I need to make it the same, so I'm actually going to pull out a negative 2 GCF. And then I get the 3x plus 4. These need to be the same.
Needs to become the same coming down from this step.
Yes. And if they're not, that's when you got to know to pull out a negative GCF. Yes.
Does it matter? Oh wait, never mind. Actually, it doesn't. Never mind.
Okay, and now you'll put the 3x plus 4, because that's what was doubled, and then the 2 GCFs, or the two numbers outside. And again, you can FOIL it and make sure it goes back. So first gives me 3x squared, outer gives me negative 6x, inside gives me 4x, and last gives me negative 8. Notice when I add them, I do get the negative 2 I was looking for. So it does go back to the original problem. So again, all of your answers are going to be binomials tomorrow. There are 20 questions on the quiz. Okay, the first 10 are going to be like last night's homework. The back page will look like tonight's homework. Okay, right now we're going to work on the homework together. So go ahead and open it up.